Good afternoon, folks. Thank you for joining us for this month's SLCP meetup. My name is Alex Blend, and today we will be discussing the collective impact section of the certification program. In that in that session, in that section of collective impact, it's area that kind of asks us to look beyond the walls of the physical building of our institutions and consider how libraries can contribute to lasting community-wide progress. The ideas that take shape in this section kind of range from community-focused activities. They can include programs that support local goals, providing voter registration opportunities, hosting community conversations, interviewing local leaders, or partnering with local organizations and businesses. Um, Many libraries also work with local government too to create interactive displays that encourage patrons to engage with civic issues. Each of these actions reflect the belief that libraries can serve as trusted facilitators, collaborators, and leaders in community change efforts. Um, so we have a guest that's gonna share with us today. And then we will open it up for questions and discussion about collective impact. And then if anybody has anything else they would like to discuss, feel free to bring that up. We will be monitoring the chat, so you can drop questions and thoughts in there as well. But for now, let's get started. I'm going to invite Barbara Ball, director of the recently certified sustainable Windsor Public Library, to share with us about their journey and working through the collective impact section. Barbara, welcome and thank you.
Hi, I'm Barbara Ball from the Windsor Library in Vermont, and I'm going to share my screen. Thanks so much for having me. Okay, so let's see, just a little bit about who we are. The Windsor Public Library is an incorporated public library in Windsor. That means we're not a town library. We're like a 501c3 nonprofit, but we do get 2/3 of our funding from the town. The other third we do a bunch of fundraising for, and have a small endowment. The population of Windsor is about 3,400 people, and we currently have like 1,200 registered patrons, who've used the library in the last 2 years. We have 3 staff for a total of like 1.7 FTE, so nobody's 40 hours a week. And we were, so let me, and another thing, 30% of Windsorites have a bachelor's degree or higher. And the other thing, Windsor was a thriving machine tool town until decades ago when all the factories closed. And since then, it's really been working to invent itself. So now a lot of people who living here it's a bedroom community for them, and they work at like Dartmouth College and Dartmouth Hitchcock Medical Center. And other residents are still really struggling, and we're predominantly white, like 95% white, more than that. And a combination of folks living rurally or living in town. So we were chugging our way through the sustainable libraries, the different check boxes and the different sections, and came to section H, which was the focus on partnerships and the collective impact. And that kind of slowed us down for a bit because it seemed like, whoa, we're hitting a place where, no more low-hanging fruit so much, more have a heavy lift. But the beautiful thing was that right at that time, we're doing community strategic planning and, strategic planning, and we really wanted it to be community strategic planning this year. So with a lot of community involvement, which really worked perfectly as far as helping us really get through this section. So, and it's, having a commitment to enter partnerships in either the mission statement or the policy or a policy. And the community during our 2025 strategic community strategic planning process, like partnering with Center Stage, it was perfect. Participants were strategizing best ways to partners with other area groups. like as far as food insecurity, like the Windsor Public Library has a seed library, and we do garden programming, and then connecting that with the Windsor Community Gardens, connecting that with the local food shelf. And kind of when we started looking at the library's role in the community as, rather than a provider of, books and programming, as being a part of a support network for the entire community, we expanded our breadth and strengthened the support that we can provide to our community. We are grateful for and empowered by this new way of understanding our role. Partnership ideas and partnerships already in place, like, included like working with the town to be as prepared as possible for future, emergencies or bad weather events. Partnering with local volunteers in action and providing needed services to our community. Partnering with LGBTQ plus of Windsor group on Pride Month stuff that's happening and going on. The Windsor Historical Society with shared programming and research assistance, was a real kind of no-brainer. Windsor Community Gardens, Rachel's Kitchen, and we partner with local schools and having school groups, visit the library and then applying for grants like the Children's Literacy Foundation grant. And also Mary Blood Library in West Windsor. We have some shared programming, and we also share the courier that brings interlibrary loans throughout the state, which was helpful. So H4 was conducting community conversations, which again was perfect as far as the community strategic planning. We had 2 community conversations, which were conducted as part of our strategic planning. And we really curated who we invited. We really wanted people kind of from all different sectors of Windsor. And, a lot of the people that we had as part of it were not people who are regularly invited with regularly a part of the library, which was really helpful as far as getting their perspectives. For example, we had the Windsor Rotary president was there, the hospital CEO, the local hospital, a school board member, a retired teacher, a worker at the homeless shelter, which is, in a nearby town, two representatives from the American Precision Museum, a member of Windsor School Board, a Windsor County State Rep, a recent employee of Vermont Humanities was helpful. A recently retired employee of Southern Windham, Windsor County Solid Waste Management Districts, which, recycling, and the CEO of Historic Windsor, the owner of a Windsor senior living facility, and others. So it was a really great group, and we had some great conversations. And as part of that, this totally segued really nicely and easily into interviewing community opinion leaders. So, we had the captive audience of the community strategic planning and made it easier to have, one-on-one conversations with them. But also as far to, inviting people into the community strategic planning, some people were not able to participate in the 2 groups, but were totally willing to meet with me one-on-one and give their feedback, which was really helpful, like the town manager and others. So not-for-profit partnership. One of the biggest ones is the Windsor Vermont Historical Society, that we can both, partner as far as like doing programming. We can both contribute to speaker fees. We can both advertise the events. The library can provide the space. They can provide the snacks, things like that. And as part of the partnership, a local historian wrote a book about a Windsor neighborhood that was really well regarded, and the library got a free copy, but also is selling copies for the Historical Society, since we're a place that's open regularly and people can come. And that's another way that we can connect with them and help support them. Another nonprofit partnership is with the Windsor Community Gardens. Our seed library is perfect as far as them being able to access free seeds, and garden programming that comes primarily from UVM Extension Master Gardener program. We have garden beds in the back of the library that for 1 year, which was wonderful, we were actually able to offer as community garden beds. One of the neighbors wasn't happy with people gardening at all hours right outside their house, so that no longer happens, but it was cool while it did. And we also partner on an end of season garden potluck, which is really great and a great way to connect with Windsor Community Gardens. And for-profit partnerships, one that was just key for Windsor's health, for the library, for everyone, is 2.5 years ago, Windsor got a grant up for a pilot project to have microtransit in Windsor, which is kind of like having a free Uber in town. So anyone in town can, call or book a ride and get a ride anywhere else in town or to the local park and rides at the interstate on either side. So they go to either to the two surrounding towns, which was great. So the first 2 years was totally free of this pilot program. The third year was this year, and in order to have the third year take place, it needed to be in the town budget. It needed to pass for $20,000 that would go toward the microtransit. So the library, because I mean, it's such a wonderful program. Before that, Windsor had really pretty much no public transit options, and now the micro moo, I know the name, but it's really great for people who don't have cars, for people who share a car and need to go somewhere else other than where their car is going. It's great for people who are who are who are older and can no longer safely drive. It's great for if you're getting your car fixed, or if you want a bike to work, but then it's like pouring or freezing out and you need to get a ride back. That's perfect. But we really wanted the third year to be able to pass. And also the micromove, also the mover is the bus company, and it needed to be able to show that yes, this it's being well used. So we're not only advertising it to make sure that the $20,000 passed, but we also wanted to make sure that enough people were using it to show that it was sustainable. And we were really trying to combat too oh no, it's not for me. I have a car. People who really need it should use it. So we were really, letting people know, no, actually it's for all of us. And if all of us use it, it's better for the environment, it's better for less cars on the road. So we were able to, and we were able to get people's stories as far as how, what's been their experience as far as riding the micromove and scheduling it. And happily it did pass. The $20,000 did pass from the town, which is great. And hopefully we will get through the pilot program and be able to have it as an ongoing service for Windsor, because it's such a wonderful thing. And supporting local businesses, we do annually participate in the Autumn Moon Festival, which happens usually in October in Windsor, and it's kind of like a celebration of local businesses. But also, on our website, we have our wish list of things, and also, this time of year, we have a holiday wish list, and we just and just remind people, please, and shop local, the businesses we have in town, they'd love our support. And recently, we just did a little tiny little the Windsor Diner. It's a historic 1950s diner in Windsor, and it turned out their foundation was crumbling, so they needed to move a block down the road. So there was this whole the diner was moving thing. But as part of our strategic planning, we thought we had a survey for all, and anyone who uses any Windsor people based on the library. And we thought as an incentive that we would we would raffle off a $30 gift card to the diner, and that would give the diners, well, only $30 when they're closed, but it would also be kind of a reminder, keep people on public media, like, don't forget the diner's there and it's going to be back and it'll be great. So it was a way that we could kind of advertise the diner and partner with them, and be able to actually get more people participating in our survey as well. Partnering with local government, there's so many ways. But the biggest thing really right now that we're really looking forward toward is in the future, to really be able to look at being able to help partner with emergency planning, and especially like weather emergencies, and how the library can fit in as far as the town's plan for dealing with these things, like the library. And just little things like, yes, we're a heating and cooling center, but also we have a spigot outside for water that people can use anytime, and we have an electric outlet outside that anyone can use, as well as 24/7 Wi-Fi. But also, we help Windsor residents with job applications and computer use. We post the town agendas. We provide information on town services, and they in turn provide information on library events. We host regular meet and greets with state legislators. And library programming often supplements town plans or issues. Like we had a few years ago, we had a Windsor of the Future walk that was a local architect did it, and one of our historic neighborhoods that used to be like Goodyear plant housing, which are these little cute little houses right on the river. But the problem is they're all like 3 feet. It's a little even less than that. Like the elevation from the river is like 2 or 3 feet too low, so they need flood insurance in order to get any improvements done on them. So that it was the architect was showing like if we could raise these houses on stilts or whatever, that this would actually help these people in the town. It would help, it would help in a bunch of different ways. So that kind of thing, um, assisting library users with finding and applying for housing, helping them connect with legal services when needed. And also, I was and I will be again working with the Vermont Library Association's Government Relations Committee as far as, really advocating for libraries with our state legislator. And I think that's all I have. I hope I didn't run through it too quickly.
No, that was excellent. Thank you, Barbara, so much for sharing. It's definitely evident that you were able to really, be a support network for your entire community. The partnerships, I love the micro moo, and the free public transportation. That's great. You definitely talked about a lot of ways that you were able to kind of impact the community, increase your impact in your community through those partnerships, and support your residents as best you can. Thank you so much for sharing. That was
Oh.
excellent. Does anybody have any questions for Barbara, or any comments or anything that they'd like to share? Can drop it in the chat if you'd like, or unmute, whatever you're comfortable with. Okay. Well, Barbara, I want to. Oh, Jeff, are you gonna
Hey,
go ahead?
Alex.
Hey.
How's everybody doing? I had a question for Barbara and for the larger group as well around climate resilience hubs. Barbara, has that come up in Windsor? You mentioned like partnerships with local government and in emergencies. So I know there's communities responding to extreme weather, which has engaged a lot with libraries around the country. And Alex, there might be some like SLI plugins here too on Resilience Hubs, but curious what the group is doing here and what Barbara, if you're doing anything too, because we're getting approached by city government and similar to you, we're a 501(c)(3) like independent, non-municipal. Um, so we want to tread carefully in that space, but also offer up our libraries as a resource. Um, yeah, so curious if anybody's doing anything regarding that. Thanks.
I hadn't heard the term before, but I guess we're doing what we're doing as far as what I said, and definitely looking to do more if we can.
Hi, I'm from the Alexandria Library in Virginia, and we are part of the crew. And I'm not the right person to talk to because Megan Zimmerman, who is in a different branch, she joined or however signed up for the crew quite a few years ago and has a whole display and has followed their guidelines pretty carefully. And what we're doing now is we're expanding it to every branch. So in my branch, we're going to have a cart where we're going to have materials, mostly books that we'll pull that will be part of the climate, the resilience collection. And then we have to put flyers out that talk about resilience, things like, what to do when weather gets cold. And we have to have a program once a year, and then we also can put a decal on our front door.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you everyone for sharing. Um, I don't know, Barbara, if you saw Diana put something in the chat there. I'll read it. She said, hearing how your library's intentional partnering has increased your impact gives me more confidence about how to handle that section when we get to it, which
Nice.
I absolutely agree with. Thank you. Thank you, Diana, for sharing that. Sophia dropped the Climate Crew link in the chat as well if anyone's interested in checking that out. Yeah, the crew is also the kind of resilience hub that I'm familiar with as well. Not sure about others. I don't know if anybody else is, but so I believe this question is for you, Barbara. How did you come to the decision to having town resources on your website? Was there any pushback around that? I guess at Kendall's library, they're cautious about putting anything that is not a library service on their website, um, but she thinks a town resource page could be really beneficial.
Yeah, it's totally beneficial. And it was actually there from before my time. So we've just kept it there and been updating it. It's been helpful. No
Excellent.
pushback, happily.
Yeah, I have heard some libraries with this similar have similar issues as far as adding, you know, town resources to the website. So that is definitely a common, thing in some communities. But yeah, certainly beneficial. Diana asked, did you reach out to groups you wanted to work with and say, what can we do together? Is that how did you, I guess, make those connections?
Actually, well, I guess the first thing that we did was several years ago. We actually got a library, an ALA, I'm blanking on that kind of grant, but it was actually to connect with as far as food insecurity. So that was actually a really helpful, like where we had a few meetings as far as with the Windsor Community Gardens, with the food pantry, with the actual place that does breakfast for any free breakfast every morning. Um, and we had several meetings of that sort, which really helped as far as connecting with that. And then the other connections, I mean, Windsor Historical Society was just kind of it made so much sense. We actually even have board members. A couple of our board members are their board members too. So that it's a really wonderful, easy partnership. And Mary Blood Library, actually that started, we have a wonderful guy who does like tree ID walks for us. And he was like, I'd really like to do a tree ID walk at this place in West Windsor and I'm like, well, we better invite, the West Windsor Library to come. So that was kind of an initial programming venture together. And the community strategic planning was a great place because of all these representative of other groups who were like, yeah, we'd love to do this with you. We'd love to do that with you. So um, I guess as well as being open to other organizations approaching us, like like this woman who comes to our mending group who was like, hey, and I have a little tarot, I do tarot readings. And what if I do how to read tarot cards? And I was like, okay. So that like just I guess kind of being open to that kind of people wanting to do programming with us. If it's a good fit, then that would work, then that works.
Yeah, that's excellent. Yeah, keeping an open mind, being willing to meet with people and talk to them and see how you can kind of make the partnership work. That's excellent. We can certainly open it up if anybody has any
Mhm.
other questions or anything that they want to bring up and as far as collective impact is concerned, and anybody working on that section, um, or any other section for that matter. If maybe you came here today with something that you're working on in the action item form that you wanted to bring to the group, feel free to bring it up. Barbara, how was it convening the community conversations? Was that difficult to kind of get people to come in and get involved with, or were they all pretty welcoming when you brought the idea or invited them?
They were all pretty welcoming. Some of them were really excited about it. Really hard to schedule. Used the
Yeah,
survey, and we gave up on the idea that everyone has to attend both because it just wasn't going to happen with schedules. But it ended up we had two really great groups of people. It was okay. It was okay.
that's excellent. Yeah, that is kind of like a common question that we get here at the SLI office. People, members asking how to, do the community conversations. And I think we are working on, the SLI, we're working on putting together a webinar to kind of, help our members facilitate those community conversations, bring a speaker in to kind of explain how to get that done. So something to look out for in the near future, or for 2026 rather. Anybody else would like to share or have any questions or comments, anything? Looks like Diana mentioned Fraser Valley hosted a session about climate with their local university. That's great, another great partnership. There you go. And all sorts of people came, including teens. That's good. You gotta get that demographic in the library, get them involved in these discussions. And yeah, great to hear that they're enthusiastic about this topic, and it's excellent.
Diana, what kind of folks did you bring in from the university?
Good
I'm a
question.
person at a university library, so I'm kind of interested in that potential collaboration between the university and the public library.
Yeah, great question. Hi, everyone. Um, so the local university has what we call the local iSchool, which is our library and information sciences school. And two of the professors in that school were doing a grant research program about climate sense making. How do people make sense of climate information, and how do they decide what it means for them, whatever they're learning? And they were reaching out to various different libraries throughout the province. I'm in BC, looking for a variety of different library contexts. And I work for a large regional system, so we sort of filled that slot for them. And then they had a small library on the island and one in the interior of the province. And they did different projects with each library. And with us, what we decided to do was do sort of like library visioning workshops with just anyone in the public who wanted to join. And the folks from UBC, they came out and they brought all these different supplies to do like a demonstration about like they put a long string on the wall, for example, back to, I don't know, like the birth of the earth or whatever, all the way up to now. And we came up with things that we thought were significant for our lives or for the climate or for our communities, and we plotted them on this map, sort of string map. It was a really interesting sort of activity, and we had roundtable conversations, and they brought sort of arts and crafts supplies for one portion of the day where folks would create using, I don't know, thread or fabric or paper and pens or paint or Lego, or they had all sorts of different stuff, clay, something that they wanted to see in our community in 20 years, for example. And then we all sort of shared round table of what we had made and what it meant to us. It was really great. But that's how it started, was because the local library school was looking for someone to do a project with. And because I was fortunate enough to know some of the people who work at that iSchool, we got to participate.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing, Diana. That's It's very helpful. And Chris, thank you for the question. Anybody else have anything they'd like to chat about? The floor is yours. All right. Well, I guess we can call it a day. I want to thank Barbara for sharing. Again, congratulations on finishing the certification program. We look forward to celebrating your achievement a lot more in the coming weeks. And yeah, thank you for sharing with us today. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you. This is great.
And thank you all for joining us this afternoon. This is the last meetup for 2025. So we will see you all. Yes, Chris, the recording will be, I can send it out to you if you'd like. We do post it on the website though, but I can send it to you, no problem. Our next meetup will be January 8th. We'll be talking about social cohesion, 1 p.m. Eastern. And we look forward to chatting with you all then. Have a great rest of your day, and if I don't see y'all, happy New Year and happy holidays. Take care, everybody.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.